This is one of the most popular and yet controversial episodes of the TV series. Rusty to the Rescue, the 15th episode of the 4th series. This is the only episode for Series 4 that isn't originally written by Wilbert or Christopher Awdry. It was originally written by Britt Allcroft and David Mitton, also making it one of the few stories to not be based on a story by Andrew Brenner's comic stories. But does it deserve all the hate that it often gets on the internet? Let's explore it. In springtime, Rusty loves to visit a faraway place filled with bluebells. The air is sweet and he thinks there is no better place to be. One day, while Rusty is being refueled, Thomas passes by, remarking that Rusty's driver looks worried. Rusty questions his driver, who replies that another engine is needed to run the special line. Rusty is intrigued by the idea of finding a Bluebell engine. Later, Rusty consults Douglas, who is with Percy, about finding another engine on the other railway, where Douglas found Oliver. Douglas says that he would like to help, but notes that only diesels travel there now. Rusty readily accepts the idea and decides to go there. That evening, his driver comes with news that the manager will make a home for a Bluebell engine if they find one. Rusty determines to find one the next day. It takes them all of the next day to travel to the other railway, and when they arrive, it is night time with a cold wind blowing. Creeps of lonely scrap are heard, and Rusty pulls up beside the diesels lined up on guard. He escapes the diesel's suspicion by bluffing about being an inspection diesel and asks if there are any engines in the shed. The diesels note that there are none in the shed. Refusing to give up, Rusty asks about the sidings, and the diesel states that they have one engine. Rusty plucks up courage and decides to find the engine in the siding. A small tank engine with a tall funnel named Stepney, which is written on his side tank, stands sad and alone in a shadowy siding. His driver is huddled in the cab, keeping him company. Rusty rolls up beside him and asks him if he likes bluebells. Although startled, Stepney replies that he believes bluebells are beautiful. Rusty then tells Stepney that he will soon see lots of bluebells and promises to save him some scrap. Rusty's crew works quickly to get Stepney started. It is initially difficult to light the fire, but it soon burns nicely with a good head of steam. Rusty's engineer agrees to act as Stepney's fireman, and together the two engines run past the line of diesels and head off for the Bluebell Railway. The other diesels ask where Stepney is going, and Rusty replies that he is just going down the line. When Rusty and Stepney cross the border onto the Fat Controller's Railway, Rusty shouts mission accomplished in triumph. The next morning, Rusty and Stepney arrive in the valley station where a big welcome awaits. The manager promises to have Stepney mended and given a new coat of paint, much to the delight of Stepney's driver. Stepney thanks Rusty for everything. After being mended and painted, Stepney is happy as can be and helps all of the passengers who visit when the bluebells bloom. He is quaintly nicknamed the Bluebell Engine. Before I go into what makes this episode so controversial among the fan base, I want to talk about Stepney the Bluebell Engine for a bit. He is a bubbly, modest and humble chap who is bursting with enthusiasm. He is very eager to please and is every engine's friend. When given a job to do, he is determined to complete it to the best of his ability. Even if an engine might not like him at first, his personality wins them over. After being saved from scrap by Rusty and the Bluebell Railway, he now runs his own branch line, but loves visiting and helping out on the Fat Controller's Railway. He has an enthusiasm for learning and listening to advice, as well as keeping busy. Stepney can feel down in the dumps if he does not have enough work to do or if he does not get a good long run to stretch his wheels. Stepney is high-spirited, lively, and is keen to see fair play. He is popular amongst the engines and is always game for more work. Unlike most of Sodor's engines, Stepney loves to work with trucks. Stepney's real-life counterpart was built by Brighton Works in 1875 and was rebuilt into an A1X in 1912. He was bought by the Bluebell Railway Preservation Society and arrived on the railway on the 17th of May 1960, making him the first standard gauge steam locomotive to be saved for the Bluebell Railway. Since Stepney's first appearance in the Railway series and Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, he has become one of the most popular engines on the railway, with children all across the country coming to see Stepney. Stepney has even participated in Day Out with Thomas events and has carried a face for these events. Okay, now we could get into what's so controversial about this episode. Mainly the fact that it's not based on the Railway series story where Stepney first arrives on the railway, and it rewrites him being owned by the Bluebell Railway on the other railway, and instead being on a Bluebell Railway on Sodor. Now, if you were a kid and never read the story before being introduced to the TV series version, then you wouldn't have known this. But I don't see it as much of a big deal myself because I've always really enjoyed this episode. The atmosphere of it and the heroism of Rusty. And it's also questioned why they would build narrow gauge railways that travel all the way to the other railway. And I can see their point there. I mean, why would they build narrow gauge tracks from Sodor to the other railway? But at the same time, I do understand why Brittlecroft and David Mitton made this decision, because they wanted to have a diesel save a steam engine for a change, since it's normally a steam engine saving another steam engine. And the episode's plot is very similar to Save from Scrap and Escape, where an engine promises to save another engine from scrap before being scheduled to be broken up. Escape is even mentioned when Rusty asks where Douglas found Oliver, and I find it a really nice touch at how it brings back Douglas's fear of the other railway and diesels and being scrapped, showing just why he's hesitant to go back there again after the last time. And the scrapyard just looks so eerie to me. In fact, I think it's more eerie than the scrapyard we see in Escape. Just seeing all those diesels lined up on guard and all those scrapped engines as the mist rolls in. It's just such an eerie image that makes the TV series a lot more adult than most people remember it. And this shot right here of all the scrapped steam engines in the scrapyard really puts me in mind of the illustration from Stepney's Railway Series book, and all those pictures of railway scrapyards I've seen while doing research for Thomascember over the years. It's just one of those adult moments in a kids show that we wouldn't have noticed back then, but noticed years later. And I love the TV series for that. And the diesels on the other railway are all represented by diesels that were already introduced to the TV series, including Diesel, Boko, Daisy, Mavis, and another diesel that would get introduced a couple of episodes later. That particular character's appearance is a blink and you'll miss it moment, since he's mostly hidden in the shadows while all the other diesels are right in your face. And I love Michelangelis' loud, booming, towering voice he gives for the diesels, as well as that eerie echo.
Who are you? Rusty plucked up courage. I'm a shed and sidings inspection diesel. Have you any engines in the shed? No. Rusty rallied again. Then, what about the sidings? One. We have one. Rusty grew braver still. Then I'll just go and inspect. What they said. Past the bleak and brooding line of diesels. Where is he going? They hissed. Just down the line, replied Rusty.
It just makes that confrontation between them and Rusty all the more epic in my opinion. And the rescue theme is just one of the most memorable themes that Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell have ever done in my opinion. It's just become so popular that loads of Thomas fans have attempted to recreate it, and in very good ways I might add. Hell, it's so good that Junior Campbell used it for a YouTube video about Flying Scotsman's return back in 2016. That just shows how much Junior Campbell loved this tune, and how iconic it is to the TV series. And this episode is the only time Daisy and Boko share the scenes together. It's been established multiple times that Daisy and Boko share a chassis, so they had to use a non-motorised one for Daisy for this scene, making this the only time in the TV series that Boko and Daisy's models share the scene together. Because they shared the same chassis, it would have been impossible for them to have shared an episode together. And this was quite a milestone in my opinion. While being a controversial episode that's not based on any Railway series stories, and does its own thing with Stepney's Bluebell Railway, I still enjoy this episode a lot. I love the daring rescue from Rusty, the introduction to Stepney, the eeriness of the scrapyards, and just how amazing the theme from Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell is. Despite taking liberties with Stepney's background for this episode, it's still an episode that I do highly recommend checking out if you love the escape and rescue episodes. It's a nice twist on the Save from Scrap storyline with a diesel shaving a steam engine for once, and it's definitely an episode that you don't want to miss. It's easily among one of the best.
Who are you?
I am Mrs. Nesbit.